Hi, welcome back to the IBC at the RAI in Amsterdam. This is our very last show at the exhibition. Now, Forbidden Technologies has signed a deal with Siemens IT Solutions and Services in Africa. I'm delighted to say with me is Greg Hirst, a director of Forbidden. Greg, what is it exactly that you have sold to them?
Well, over the last 6 years, Forbidden has led the way in providing cloud-based services and tools for video. And what we're doing is licensing that complete infrastructure for our Foreseen product to Siemens to run Pan-African. And they're going to be providing services based on that to broadcasters, to production companies, and to advertising agencies.
Is this a relatively new departure for Forbidden?
Well, it's a significant extension to our business model. So far, we've offered Foreseen as software as a service to clients around the globe run from our own servers. What we're doing here is licensing that infrastructure to Siemens, and we see this as a way of expanding the growth of Foreseen into a rapidly expanding market for cloud-based video services.
Yeah, you say rapidly expanding. I've had a feeling this week that the upturn is a real one in terms of the way things are going business-wise. Do you see that in your part of the industry too?
We definitely do, and I think it's driven by the need to cut cost, it's driven by the need to contain and think of new workflows, and I think that all of those things, we're allowing television to produce at lower cost, and that's really what it's got to be all about.
Absolutely.
More at lower cost.
Indeed, and we've got that. Greg, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Many thanks. Now, the products group of systems integrator TSL is supplying high-definition audio monitors to GAB, the host broadcast company for the 2010 Asia Games, which are taking place in China this year. Well, with me is Chris Exelby, who's General Manager of Professional Products at TSL. Chris, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
How are the preparations going for this?
Well, like most big events like this, it's all very much last minute, but we're right on track to deliver our units in time for the games, which take place in the second half of November.
People will be very interested to hear you moving into China, because obviously it's a huge growth area, but it's a very difficult market for firms to break into it, I think.
There's a lot of mystique around that. To be quite honest, we first took a position at the stand at BAR TV 3 years ago. We've been going back ever since, and first, nothing happened for the first year or so, but now the business is really starting to take off. During the Olympics, we managed to supply a tally system to CCTV, and now all of a sudden, all the major systems integrators in China are now integrating our solution. And of course, once they start to use it, they'll keep on using it. Yeah. So it's pretty much of a land grab, and it's the same for the audio monitors. Our unit will be in every single broadcast position. There's 42 of them at the Asian Games, and so it's a great showcase for us, and we're absolutely thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah, so you're already in there. I mean, had you targeted China specifically, knowing that it was a good growth area? How did that deal come about?
Well, I've been going to China for 10 years now, and it really has changed considerably over that period. 10 years ago, the systems integrators and the broadcasters were working out of basements in retail centres. They were quite grubby, and it was very low technology. Now, the very same systems integrators are working out of shiny granite and glass skyscrapers. They're well dressed and they're highly educated, and now they've got money. They've got the money to invest in the type of products to deliver a really first-class broadcast. And this is really a major change, and they really value quality Western goods. So with the right contacts, with regular sales visits, which is how we won the GAB contract, supplying the right technical support. I mean, we translated all our manuals into Chinese, for instance. They appreciate that, although they can all speak English, but they really welcome the fact that we're making an effort. Wow. And we're getting our rewards now.
You certainly are, and I think a lot of people here at IBC would be very interested to hear that story. Chris, thank you very much, and good luck. November it gets underway, doesn't it, the Games?
We'll be keeping our fingers crossed, but we're quite confident.
Good man. Chris, thank you very much indeed. Best of luck with it. Now, finally, 3D TV, of course, has been a huge issue at this year's show. There's been an awful lot of excitement about the potential of the business, but there have also been a few voices raised about potential problems too. Well, with me is James Doddington, who's the CEO of 3 Media Associates. James, thanks for joining us. You are a skeptic, if that's the right word, about 3D. Well, this is 3D television, isn't it? What yes. Exactly are your concerns?
Skeptics may be overstating it a little bit, but certainly there's a lot of problems with 3D, and We had clients looking to, wondering whether they should implement 3D on their channels.
Because of what? What sort of problems are you talking about?
Well, they came to us asking what problems we would get, and there's a whole raft of physiological problems that are associated with the perception of 3D. You know, it's an artificial perception. And we did some research to find that people are suffering from fatigue symptoms, and there's been chat on internet forums about that, caused by the accommodation divergence conflict that there is within 3D perception, where you know, part of the brain is saying that something is 20 feet away, and yet you're looking at a television screen that's only 8 feet away. Yeah. And the brain is trying to decide which thing it should focus on and treat as real. That causes fatigue, which causes headaches, triggers migraine attacks, and those sorts of things. Around about 10 to 15% of the audience in a domestic setting can suffer from that, higher percentage than in the cinema. There are also evidence of motion sickness. Is quite a nasty one that people can get. There's plenty of evidence of it making people actually sick. Children in particular, under 10 years old, are very susceptible to motion sickness if they get into this conflict situation where their brain cannot decide what it should be looking at.
What's likely to happen here, then? Because you might get lynched when you leave here, so be very careful. A lot of 3D people around. But, I mean, is it a matter of the human brain just getting used to 3D? Is it a matter of developing 3D in a different way? I'm
not so sure it's developing it in a different way. I think there's some social aspects which would drive the development of autostereoscopic 3D, so we don't actually need glasses to perceive it. But in terms of the effects, there are production techniques that will minimize the effect.
It's the job of the stereographer to
absolutely, absolutely. The director and the stereographer to come up with a way of shooting whatever material they are, editing whatever material they have, so that it's much less likely to trigger this conflict in perception.
So are you basically advising clients not to go into 3D TV right now until the medical side of it has been proved and better understood?
I think what we're saying to clients at the moment is if they're a general broadcast channel, absolutely that. If they have specialist niche content where 3D adds a particular thing strongly to it, and if they're not expecting people to watch their channel for extended periods of time, then you can make a case for it. Yeah. So, you know, something like sitting down to watch Avatar in 3D at home would be splendid in the environment. But, you know, again, in the cinema, there were 10 to 15% of people who had trouble watching Avatar in the cinema, and they will have even more trouble at home. So it's not for everyone, it's not for everything, but it has its role to play, and it's a growing role over the future. So the future may well be 3D, but it's not going to be all pervasive for quite a while to come. Wow. The same way that HD took 10 to 15 years before it became ubiquitous. So that's really our message at the moment. Is, if you don't have an overriding commercial imperative, hold off.
Interesting, James. Thank you. We're going to give you a security guard to take you back to your stand.
Thank you.
But that's really, in all seriousness, that's absolutely fascinating, James. And thank you very much indeed for coming to talk to us about it.
Thank you.
Many thanks. Well, that's about it. The show ends at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I hope it's been a successful one for all of you. And IBC next year starts on Thursday, the 8th of September, my birthday. Hope to see you again then. Until then, goodbye.